Hello friends, welcome. This is our first video on here. So excited to be here. So excited to kind of bring the Celtic Brew from TikTok over here as well. I've been excited but kind of reluctant because as some of you guys know, we do have a family channel, our landing crew on here, and I was kind of worried about the crossover. It's why I've kept this part of my life so separate for so long, is because I know this can be controversial, but at the same time, it's not fair for me to censor myself just to make others feel comfortable. And I feel like there's so much that we can touch on, so much that we can talk about over here without, without the 3-minute limit. If you don't know who I am though, my name is Stephanie. I am considered an eclectic pagan, which just means I follow a bunch of paths. I do stay pretty close to my Celtic culture, but I am not a Celtic pagan, as those are different. I have been practicing witchcraft for almost 10 years now. I've been reading tarot for almost 9, and I've been doing past life regression for 6 years. So this is gonna basically just be my story of how I came into spirituality and also my journey of hiding such a big part of me for so long. This week, my background's changing, so it's probably gonna be different on the next video. But let's get into my story. So as a child, I was someone that was always drawn to witchcraft and spiritual things. I mean, at the age of 6 or 7 or 8, I've always believed in past lives my entire life. I didn't need an explanation for it. I just always knew I had other past lives. I never really thought much about it. It was just kind of, that's how it was. When I was 14, I started to randomly have psychic dreams. And if you don't know what I mean by that, psychic dreams are where you have a dream about something, it's prophetic, and then it happens exactly like you saw it in your dream. But it's basically like someone is giving you a trailer to that day. You're getting to see a sneak peek, essentially. It was kind of weird at first. At first I was like, oh, this is a weird random thing that happened, because I was in a very strict Pentecostal church. My parents were very much avid Christians at this time. So I thought it was just coincidence, or maybe I was going crazy. And then it started happening more and more and more. I went to my pastor, I told him about it. I was told that it was of the devil and that I was possessed by evil spirits that had gotten our whole family. And they put myself and my mom through exorcisms, which that will be a separate video. But essentially, this obviously deterred me from really exploring anything spirituality. It really scared me, and I really struggled with getting over this idea that I was going to hell. The dreams kept happening, and sometimes I would have random flashes in my mind's eye of things. I also grew up with my sister. We shared a room our entire life until she got married, and she is definitely a psychic medium. Crazy things would happen. She was someone that wasn't scared of a lot, so when she was scared, you know it was like legit. But we never really talked about it because, again, we're both in a church that really doesn't support the idea of psychics and that idea other than it being against God. Fast forward, I am barely 21 and I am giving birth to my 3rd child. She had drove up to come see me, be there for the birth, and she was at my house that I was living at the time. Felt uneasy with this house, but she refused to sleep there. She said, I can't sleep there. I was like, well, there's no bed for you. You're gonna have to sleep in a chair. She's like, that's fine. I can't stay in this house. There's something in your house. I believed her, one, because I had weird experiences too, but my sister is not scared of much. So I knew that something was going on up in there. So we actually didn't really talk about it again until about a year or 2 later. And we did kind of share experiences that we'd had, because at this point we're both adults, right? We both stopped going to church, and it was so crazy how similar they were, but that we were afraid to tell each other because we thought others would find us like crazy or something. 3 weeks before my 24th birthday, my best friend Charles had suddenly passed away from a heart attack. About a month or 2 later, I started having dreams where he was visiting me in the dreams. At first I wasn't sure what that was, but then he would basically give me messages to give people in his life that he left behind, and they were things that I couldn't have possibly known. And that is really what sparked me on my spiritual journey, because there was just so much proof and so much validation that there was no way to believe anything else. When I was 25 is when I really started to dig in to spirituality, ancestry, and trying to learn and understand paganism, because when I was in a Christian church, I never felt like that belonged. I never felt like that was a puzzle piece that fit within me. If it fits within you, completely valid, 100%. But for me, it didn't. Throughout the years up until this point, I would have periods where I would research specifically like psychic abilities and witchcraft. Finally, I was like, let's do this. We're just gonna find things out. As I was digging into my ancestry, I actually found that multiple of my ancestors were tried for witchcraft in Europe. I know now that doesn't mean that they were actually practicing witchcraft, but at the time it was validation enough for me to know I was on the right path. And the more I researched, the more I understood paganism, witchcraft, history, spirituality, my ancestors, the more it just fit like a glove. The more I felt like I was home and this is what I was supposed to be doing. I also talked to the rest of my family. I finally opened up to my mom about it. My mom's like, yes, I've had experiences my entire life. Your grandmother as well, which is her mother. Then my mom decided to tell me that my grandfather was a practicing witch. I was like, what? Which is really ironic because he is Scottish. He's where I get the Scottish blood from. That's the side that I've always resonated with the most. So everything just kind of lined up in a perfect way. Ancestry work is definitely where my heart is at. I have researched paganism in depth through different pantheons. And the only ones I really resonate with is Celtic paganism, Druidry, and ancestry work. So those are basically the three I kind of mix up. So a year later, I bought my very first tarot deck as I felt always really drawn and intrigued by tarot. I had tried runes and palm reading and tea leaf reading and all that, but it never quite resonated with me like tarot cards did. About a year or two into practicing witchcraft, I moved to a different city in Florida where I moved in with my best friend at the time. She was spiritual as well, and we would just like read each other's tarot, and that's kind of how I learned. I wasn't super intentional with it, like where I was doing it every single day, but it was something I always picked up. I made a lot of mistakes because I didn't have social media. I really didn't have anything, and I always felt very weird about just following what Google said or using spells that Google said. So I always made my own things. I've always done it by my own intention, which I believe is my ancestors guiding me through. But in the midst of making mistakes, I do have a lot of funny stories that I'm going to share on here, more like entertainment meets a word of caution. But when I was 29, almost 30, I started a YouTube channel, which is the one I was referring to at the beginning of this video. From then on, I knew I couldn't be open about it. Up until that point, all of my friends, all of my family knew, but I knew if I was going to do anything in social media, no matter the following, I had to hide that part of myself. So I didn't stop practicing, I just basically hid it. If someone asked me what my beliefs were, I would just say, we don't discuss religious beliefs on this channel. This channel is about advocating and all that. If they asked if I was Christian, I would say my husband is, because he is. I would just avoid it. Over the next year, I did start to really get into past life regression and Akashic records. I had a few dreams that really stuck with me. And then my husband had an interaction with a blind witch, which if you follow me on TikTok, you know the story I am talking about. I will tell it on here as well, just because I think I'll be able to go more in depth. After that, though, I was sold on past lives and past life regression. I just continued that path of researching more into like birthmarks and Akashic records and understanding as much as I possibly could. My past life regression did start through dreams, and obviously it has expanded since then. But I've always wanted to have like a metaphysical store. I've always wanted to be able to read tarot professionally for others. Just doubted myself. Or I would be like, yes, let's do the store. And I would start the process. I would name a store. This literally supposed to be in 2012. I just never would follow through with it. And so I just kept putting it off and putting off and putting it off. Late 2020, early 2021, I definitely went through a lot. Obviously a spiritual awakening, but there was just a lot there. And it kind of triggered some significant healing within myself that finally made me realize just how short life is. I had lost a very close connection and friend to myself, and my grandmother had passed away. So it was just a lot, and I decided to just stop putting it off. So I started a small Etsy store. I started a TikTok thinking it would be like a side thing, and within a couple of weeks it just blew up. I was trying to hide it because at this point I still wasn't really out, but it just grew to a point where I couldn't hide it anymore. My bookings got so big, Etsy couldn't handle it. So I had to start a website, and then I started classes because I felt like starting spirituality and starting witchcraft and all of that, it's so overwhelming. There's so many things, there's so many terms, there's so many misinformation. So I wanted to start a class for complete beginners, and not to teach them like my way, but just kind of an idea to let them kind of get their foot in the door of understanding spirituality. So obviously I ended up not being able to hide it anymore, which I feel like was healing within itself, because keeping this one thing away from everyone else got to be a little heavy sometimes. I had many people who thought I hadn't been doing it as long as I said, even though I have screenshots. I've had some who thought it was just an out of the blue thing. There definitely was a really rough period of people coming from our family channel and basically harassing me on live streams. But I feel so good that we've been able to make it past that point. It lined up so perfectly and so quickly that I know this is 100% what I'm supposed to be doing. So this is my story, very, very condensed down. I will take some parts of the stories and turn it into actual bigger videos just to kind of explain things. But essentially this account's gonna be all about tarot, spirituality, witchcraft, past life regression. Past life regression and spirituality are my passion. I feel like it helps so many people on such a deeper level to understand their soul's journey, this lifetime, and how they can get accordance to their own life contract. If you are deciding to stay and hang out with us and become a part of our family here, then please know that this is a place where all paths and all beliefs are accepted and respected, both. So if you feel like so strongly about your beliefs, or you feel so strongly against mine that you feel like you can't hang and not be rude or disrespectful, then this just isn't the channel for you. As I said, I've been doing this for 6 years now. Right? 6 years. I'm not new to the social media game, so I have no issue blocking people who are going to be rude or bring negative energy into the space, because this is a place that is supportive and loving and positive. If you are new here, which most of you would be, hit that red subscribe button. We would love for you to stay and hang out. If you have specific topics that you want me to talk about, then leave them below. I will mainly be expanding on everything I've kind of talked about in different stories here, along with things that I felt were very helpful on our TikTok, but covering it more in depth. See you guys next time.